Superior National Forest in Minnesota is the home of the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness. It's vast, it's interconnected work of pristine lakes and streams, and this is an untarnished wilderness. It's a national treasure. The Forest Service is responsible for protecting it. Hundreds of thousands of Americans who visit this wilderness every year rely on your agency, as well as the 17,000 Minnesotans who work in the outdoor recreation industry in the northeastern region of our state. And I know that the Forest Service takes this responsibility seriously, because last year the service denied the renewal of mining leases by a foreign-owned company that, as you said, posed an unacceptable risk. The rejection of these lease renewals noted that copper-nickel sulfide mining might cause serious and irreplaceable harm to this unique, iconic, and irreplaceable wilderness. Multiple scientific assessments have shown that these sulfide ore mines are sources of toxic contamination, acid drainage that would cause significant harm to the waterways, aquatic life, and the forests that make the BWCA such a special place. And in fact, 92% of these sulfur ore copper mines operating in the United States have experienced failures that impact water quality. And the pictures that are on the other handout that the members have show what recently happened in 2014 in Canada. And Canada has some of the same stringent safeguards that we try to put in place. But 92% of these fail. So I want to really give a shout out to the Forest Service for the work that you're currently doing with the Department of Interior to conduct a 2-year science-based study to determine if the acres in the National Forest Land, which are 230,000 acres of National Forest lands within the watershed of the Boundary Waters, should be off limits to sulfide or copper mining for the next 20 years. Last week, the Forest Service staff confirmed with my office that you're going to have an additional public meeting in the Twin Cities regarding this mining withdrawal. And people from southern Minnesota as well as the Twin Cities are very appreciative of the Forest Service doing this. You've had several hearings in northern Minnesota, but we really appreciate the ability for the folks in the Twin Cities to go forward. So I'm assuming this meeting is moving forward. I'm asking you in public. But could you please talk about the potential consequences for the wildlife, the waters, and the forests in the BWCA and the adjacent lands if there's a discharge, a leak, or a spill from the sulfide mine, all of which are common events for this industry. And I know that you're receiving phone calls. I know you're receiving pressure from the mining industry, and we have a rich tradition of mining in Minnesota, and this is the only mining in Minnesota that I've come out forcefully against, in part because of its location in the watershed. So could you please enlighten us on what, and I'm going to include you, Mr. Secretary, what you two gentlemen can do to ensure that this proposed study goes forward as planned so that we can have robust public participation grounded in science and figuring out how to best preserve this pristine wilderness when 92%, even here in the United States, of these mines fail. And Mr. Perdue, I think you saw what happened to Canada when it leaked up there. Mr. Tidwell?
Well, you've addressed your questions to him, if I may precede him in that, because as I said earlier, the buck stops here. I'm the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, and the U.S. Forest Service is under the Secretary of Agriculture, while we have a Chief Forester who knows the history of this and can address those specific questions. I want you to know this is on my radar screen as well. Secretary Zinke and I have already met about this, and I think your statement there regarding the 2-year study over the sound science, none of us, I'm not smart enough to know to do without the fact base and the sound science, and we are absolutely allowing that to proceed. You also know that your state has a shot at that after that recommendation as well. So we are determined to proceed in those in that effort and let it run its course. No decision will be made prior to the conclusion of that.
Well, thank you, and I will, Governor Dayton will be excited to hear that.
Well,
Thank
he's,
you.
I'm sure, he's already well aware of his roles and responsibilities in that effort.
Well, he's taken the state lands off. Thank you.
Well, the only thing I would add is that the study allows us to really pull together the information and the data and look at the overall balance. Mining is an essential part of multiple use. It's especially very important in your state, but it's also essential for this country. And we can have mining operations that are safe, environmentally safe. There are many that have proven to be able to do that. You do raise the question about the sulfide ore. That is more challenging, especially in areas where we have as much water as we do up in that part of the state. So this gives us an opportunity to be able to pause, collect the information, to be able to visit and really meet with the public. And it's more to be able to comments. We just want to be able to sit down with them and really hear from their concerns. And then as we move forward, to find that balance. The balance for mining needs to occur, and it can be done in a safe, environmental way. And then if decisions are to be made for other areas that it's just potentially maybe too hazardous, those are the type of decisions that can come out of this study.
Well, I thank you, gentlemen, for your comments, and I thank you for your reassurance to let the 2-year study go forward. Thank you.
Let me give you maybe a principle that may help your feelings that way. While our motto is do right and feed everyone, as a veterinarian, I also ascribe to the Hippocratic Oath. First of all, do no harm. And we hear you loud and clear.